Today, we're going to be making this Batman cowl from a few readily available materials that you could make yourself. First up, let's take a look at a few reference images. Here's a picture of the Batman cowl. To make things easy, I'll be starting off at the top. The rest, below here, we can get rid of for now. And now we're left with the complicated bit. Because of all the various details, I'm going to make this section out of cardboard. That is a lot of pieces. But don't worry, it's not as difficult as it looks. I'll start off with these bits at the front, and then work my way back. And these parts are used to stabilize the inside of the cowl. They add structure to the inside, whilst the outside of the helmet is being built. The areas of the helmet I supported are the side, the brow, and the nose. Combined together, these parts have enough strength to hold everything in place. This piece here, that's the forehead panel. It's a great place to start since it's the center of the mask. After it has been curved, all the triangular gaps can be closed up. First piece is completed. Eyebrows. More specifically, this guy's brow line. It needs to be rounded or else it would look a bit like this, and we don't want that. You might have noticed that the seam lines on my helmet are the same as the gaps between the leather panels. I probably didn't need to do that since it just complicated things, but it served as a guide later on, so I guess it wasn't all that bad. When attaching parts to the support, be careful not to use too much glue because the structure is going to come out later. It's temporary. The top and back of the head have lots of triangular gaps, or darts, in them. Since we all know cardboard is incredibly bad at bending in two directions, all these gaps are necessary. This project has definitely been one of the most challenging ones I've ever took on. That being said, if you're crazy enough to want to build this yourself, templates should be available in the description in a few weeks, along with the Boba Fett ones that I never released. The inner ears are very complicated, and I did a terrible job of filming their construction, so hopefully this diagram will help a bit. Hopefully. The outer ear has a few more darts at the base of it, but overall it's very simple and fits into place pretty well. And here's what one half of the helmet looks like completed. Since the other side is exactly the same, let's speed through it. And that's the upper section completed. But as of right now, it's still pretty flimsy, because it's cardboard. We can fix that with the next step though, resining. The resin process is pretty simple. You mix equal portions of resin and hardener, then mix for at least 3 minutes. After that, carefully apply it over the entire dome. After this step, tear out the supports. They are useless now. We won't need them. Guess what? I tried something new. On the inside of the helmet at least. I used fiberglass cloth. You know, the stuff used on boats and stuff like that. It's probably way overkill, but I did it to help strengthen the entire thing. Now, you might be wondering what this blue tape is on the helmet. And, yeah, about that. I cut the helmet in half. But wait, I can explain. Here's a picture of the Batman mask. You see, it looks great. And here's what mine was looking like. Not good. It was fat. So I cut it in half and then glued it back together. And now no one will ever know, except for all of you watching right now. Now it's time to sand. So earlier there you saw me go over everything with my mouse sander just to get it nice and roughened up. Paint time. As you can see in my beautifully handsome hand, I'm using some Rust-Oleum filler gun. It's time for the neck. These reference photos here are from Aztec 3D Studios, giving credit where credit is due. I'm gonna make it out of foam and glue it together with some contact cement. We all know these two were a match made in heaven. But whatever you do not buy rubber cement. This stuff is trash. Just get contact cement. Trust me, you'll thank me later. If you've never used contact cement before, here's how it works. You apply a coat to both surfaces you want to glue together, and then wait 15 minutes. Then, you apply another coat and wait for another 15 minutes. Finally, after all that, you can stick your two parts together. Because of how boring applying the glue is to watch, I've saved you the burden and cut that all from the video. The back of the neck has a few muscular details on it, so to replicate this, I made a few weird shapes to stick right on top. Here's a quick little test fit, and I think that looks great. But before it gets glued on, the helmet must get painted black. I probably didn't need to, but I thought it would look cool. Now it can slowly be attached. I found it best to start in the center and work my way out. If you look closely at any picture of the cowl, you can tell that it has a leather texture on it. So I went out and bought some fake leather. Don't worry, no animals harmed in the making of this video. And it only cost me $90. Now that seems a bit outrageous, but I bought 3 yards, 2 of them for the cape. I broke it down here, you can pause and read it if you want. Now all I needed to do was figure out what glue to use to attach it. What could go wrong? I tried hot glue. It didn't work. My next best guess was super glue. That also didn't work. I was about to give up hope, but then I realized that the solution had been in front of me that entire time. This stuff worked great. So, I then began to use the contact cement to glue the leather on. I also made sure to roughen up the paint with some sandpaper since the contact cement didn't really stick to it too well. Some of the tighter areas, specifically right in front of the ear, that part was a pain in the buttocks, are very difficult to apply. The leather needed to be stretched to the point where it left marks, but it's not too noticeable, I think. When it needed a bit of help, some heat from a heat gun worked well. This might seem like a pretty easy step of the process, and you'd be right. However, this is very time consuming. It took me like 5 days to apply all the leather, and those days consisted of me contact cementing and waiting for 15 minutes and repeating that for hours on end. It was not fun, but at least it looks cool, right? Wait, it's missing something. The stitching. Instead of using a needle and thread, I decided to use puffy paint, but apparently they don't make gray puffy paint, so I forged my own, and I got straight to work. This part was definitely a highlight. It was fun. At least until my hand accidentally smudged some stitching lines I had already put down. But apart from that, it was pretty easy. Just make sure to look at references so you know where all the stitches go. And after this step was completed, it was done. Vengeance.
If you haven't already, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you all next time when I finish the armor.